Today we immerse ourselves in the story of Epiphany, the story of the wise ones who followed a star to find Jesus. And we too find ourselves on our own journeys, hoping to follow God's light to find Christ. The trouble with stars that beckon is that we can never know at the beginning of our journey where their light will lead us. We're simply offered the invitation, arise, shine, for your light has come. The invitation may emerge in the shape of an unanticipated opportunity, a new perspective, a chance to change, or even a crisis or loss can be an invitation. Anything really that calls us from beyond ourselves to a new place or a new way of being. Or we may find the invitation can come from within, rising up as illumination from the depths of our being. Reverend Barbara Brown Taylor begins her story on the journey of the wise ones this way. Once upon a time, there were some very wise men who were all sitting in their own countries, minding their own business, when a bright star lodged in the right eye of each of them. It was so bright that none of them could tell whether it was burning in the sky or in their own imagination. But they were wise enough to know that it didn't matter. The point was, something beyond them was calling them, and it was a tug they had been waiting for all their lives. So they began a journey in the dark, following a small light. And we too find ourselves in darkness, searching for light, stumbling. The light is not like that of the sun or even the moon, so bright and clear. Starlight comes from a distance, is harder to make out, but it is beckoning us forward, and we do not know what the journey will hold. Sometimes, truth be told, on our journeys, we never know. It is all filled with uncertainty, and all we have is the light, the desire, or the pain to guide us. Poets and artists understand this best, what drives us forward on our journeys. W.H. Auden wrote in the voice of the Magi, "All we know for certain is that we are three old sinners, that this journey is much too long, that we want our dinners and miss our wives, our books and dogs, but we have only the vaguest idea why we are what we are. To discover how to be human now is the reason we follow the star." As unprepared and ill-equipped as we might feel for what life presents, we're not without resources when we begin. We have ourselves, the strength of our character, the imagination of our dreams and creativity, the learning from our past experiences and our mistakes, and even in the mysterious way of grace, our weaknesses and failings are there to help us in this journey. It may not seem like much, it may not even seem like enough what we bring to the journey, yet what we have and who we are is enough. The Magi, were not simply wise men in the generic sense. The Greek term that Magi comes for implies that they were priests, sages, experts in astrology and the interpretation of dreams. They loved stars. They were called to follow them because they had this burning in their heart to be people who wondered about what was beyond the here and now, beyond what was close and comfortable. We too can be like them, looking further than what our ordinary life presents us with, following a passion for something greater. The reasons why we are called on this journey of life are often not clear to us at first. On the surface, we may seem like the least likely candidate to go where the star leads. It seems to be the nature of revelation, to be counterintuitive. Those of you who love J.R. Tolkien may remember a scene from The Fellowship of the Rings when Gandalf assures the young hobbit Frodo Baggins that he is indeed the one destined to carry the evil ring back to its destruction. No one would have guessed it, looking at Frodo. Hobbits were small and plain. Frodo was innocent and afraid. But there's something about him, his loyalty to friends, his inner strength, and an innate capacity to resist the ring's evil. And this makes him the right one for this. The ring came to you for a reason, Frodo, Gandalf tells him. There is comfort in that. I wish the ring had never come to me, Frodo despairs. I wish this had never happened. So do all who live in such times, Gandalf replies. But while we cannot choose the times we live in, we can choose how to respond to the time we are given. Then, in perhaps the bravest words uttered by hobbit to human, Frodo says at last, I will take the ring, but I do not know the way. It's often like that, isn't it? The Magi chose to follow the star, not knowing where it would lead. Frodo chose to carry the ring, though he didn't know where it would take him. This story is one that we live out in our imaginations and in our lives over and over again. In ways large and small, we all say yes to things that we cannot fully comprehend. It's an extraordinary part of the human experience, requiring of us great courage that often goes unrecognized. The artist André Gide writes, in order to reach a distant shore, one must consent to lose sight of the shore for a very long time. This makes me remember when I was a child and I learned to sail with my father. I was terrified when we would lose sight of the land. Take me back, I would shout. Trust me, was his firm and comforting reply. But how? How can I trust? I can't see how we'll be safe. The ocean is immense. Our boat is small. We could be lost at sea. Trust me, he said. Well then, is there a guide for us now saying, trust me, when we do not know the way? Yes, there is. We have guides that we can trust. First of all, the place where our journey began, our source. Although it can seem further and further away, our source is a guide. We know where we've come from. We know we are children of God. We also have the star. Whatever it was that inspired us to begin our journey in the first place, the glimmer of light that moved us to start. Its light is not enough to illumine the entire path, but it is enough for us to take the next step. It is enough to keep us going. And we should never underestimate the importance of each step that we take, no matter how small it seems. The Magi's star, remembered, led them at first to Jerusalem and to the palace of Herod. Without even consulting one another, the wise men knew that Herod was not the king they were searching for. Their star brought them to what seemed like a dead end. And so they asked Herod, of all people, if he knew of any other kings in the area. It was a question that got Herod's attention, and he asked his priests who consulted the scriptures. Yes, there was to be a new king born, they told him, in the city of Bethlehem, according to the prophets. So Herod sent the wise men to search for the new king, on the condition that they would report back to him. And is it not fascinating that cruel-hearted and evil-intentioned King Herod helped the wise men to find Jesus? We never know where needed direction may come from. And sometimes it is the people in our lives who we think would be the last ones to help us on our spiritual journey that give us the push we need in the right direction. The wise men also had each other, and there is wisdom and guidance in community for all of us. For Christians, the power of community is especially an important one, because in community we learn and pray and struggle together with what it means to be human, to be on a journey, to follow the light of Christ. Christ was quite clear that his followers were not to be alone, that in this life and on our paths, we need one another. At the foundation of Christian community is our relationship to Christ himself. Wise pastors will tell you, don't follow me. I don't know where I'm going. I'm here to walk with you, but we must all follow Christ. He's the one that knows the way. So there we have it. A call, a journey, a life, all start in the heart of God and given to us bit by bit as we do our part and accept both the invitation and our soul's transformation that the journey requires, putting one foot in front of the other, as Jung said. It's a path that will be totally unique to each of us, yet also grounded in our common experience as people of the star, as light seekers. We follow the light of Christ, though we do not know the way. Yet we need not know everything to follow Christ. We need only trust the invitation and the one extending it. Amen.